2 a.m. revealed a hidden truth. My husband's amazing secret transformation in the garage. Sarah stifled a gasp as the light from the garage seeped through the cracks of the door. The muffled sounds of Jake's tools clinking echoed into the quiet of their small house, and an urgent instinct pulled her down the dimly lit hallway. It was nearly the witching hour, yet sleep eluded her as the weight of their lives pressed against her ribs. What was he crafting in there? Swallowing her unease, she gently pushed the door open and froze. Before her lay not mere tools and metal scraps, but a vibrant world. The shiny frames of electric bicycles gleamed under the stark light. Every bolt and weld told a story she hadn't yet heard, each bicycle a testament to Jake's hidden creativity. Her heart drummed with a mixture of pride and fear. Once a dreamer, Jake had faded into the shadows, seemingly lost to despair. But there he stood, alive with purpose. The bicycles came alive with color, contrasting with the drab reality of bills that piled onto the countertop. Yet, beneath the surface, an unsettling tension coiled. Why did Jake retreat to this sanctuary in silence? Had their lives become a series of stifled dreams upheld by the mundane? As he turned, catching her eye, a spark ignited between them. But it wasn't without dread. There was shared ambition lurking in the shadows, but there were also unspoken frustrations. Battles fought in the silence. Sarah, I'm creating something. Something that matters. He softly confessed, the buildings of hope in his eyes reflecting the weight of family expectation. I want to launch a business. My father's legacy. We could turn our lives around. But her stomach churned at the thought. Financial pressures loomed ominously, threatening to suffocate any chance of their dreams. Should she support him? In that moment, her own aspirations felt selfish, sneaking time to paint, losing herself in pastels and canvases that remained untouched in the corner of their living room. During the day, she wore a face of resilience, pouring coffee and sharing laughter at the diner while internal battles raged. What if she said no? What if his dreams unraveled, leaving them vulnerable? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The morning brought new clarity, yet thickened the tension. At the diner, Sarah served pancakes and coffee, but her thoughts crackled with energy. Families laughed around her, and her pulse quickened at the thought of sharing their dreams. Could they still be a family if dreams diverged? Then came the confrontation. A friend's harsh words struck like ice. Jake, you're dreaming instead of providing, he said, voice dripping with judgment. Sarah's breath caught, the room spinning as reality pressed down harder than before. Jake's frustration boiled over, the tension snapping. She could feel it wrapping around her like a vice. The cracks in their foundation widened as she faced the impending reality. Could she stand by him and still keep her artistic voice alive, or would she suffocate beneath the weight of compromise? As dusk settled and shadows lengthened, Sarah stood at the garage entrance, caught between two worlds. The tools lay quiet under the dim glow, their potential lingering in the air. A choice loomed heavy amid her swirling thoughts. How would they navigate this landscape of aspiration? Would they emerge transformed, or would the choices they confronted fray the very fabric of their lives? The air grew thick, leaving Sarah balancing on the precipice of an uncharted future. The morning light cut through the thin curtains, filtering into the kitchen and landing softly on the table where the remnants of their hastily eaten breakfast lingered. A sense of urgency tugged at Sarah as she tidied the space, her thoughts swirling with questions she was too afraid to voice. Would embracing Jake's dream mean surrendering her own? She ventured into the cluttered garage, the scent of metal and oil enkindling vivid memories of the dreams they once shared. Leaning against the doorframe, she watched him work, his brow furrowed in concentration. Each bicycle was more than just metal. They were vessels of hope, visions of the future Jake cradled gently. "Is this really what you want?" she finally asked, her voice barely a whisper amidst the clanking of tools. Jake paused, wiping his hands on a rag before meeting her gaze. "I want to build something that lasts. Our legacy, Sarah. I want to give our kids something to be proud of, something to believe in. Isn't that worth fighting for?" Beneath his passionate plea, doubt rippled through her. They lived paycheck to paycheck. Expanding into a business felt like standing on a tightrope without a safety net. Anxiety clenched her stomach. But deep down, another voice rallied. Her own dreams, painted with colors she hadn't touched for too long. "What if we fail?" she countered, suddenly defensive. "What if we lose everything?" His eyes darkened, the light she glimpsed a moment ago flickering. "What happens if we never try? Will we just let life slip by, taking no risks?" She felt trapped between safeguarding their financial stability and nurturing the vibrant spark flickering within Jake. It stirred something in her, a dormant hope that she had buried under years of routine. This was more than just a conversation about a garage. It was about their lives, the potential for something greater, if only they could navigate the brink together. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped closer, a plan forming in her mind. "What if we create a business plan together? Let's calculate the costs and explore funding options. If we can find a way to back this, maybe it could work." His eyes softened, hope intertwining with hesitation. "Are you serious? You'd support this?" She nodded slowly, feeling the weight of the decision settle onto her shoulders. It was a gamble, but the prospect of their combined dreams ignited a flame within her, one she hadn't felt in years. "Then we tackle it together," he said, enthusiasm igniting the air between them. They'd face the unknown side by side, a resolute partnership forged by ambition. As they began sketching out plans, Sarah found herself intertwining her dreams with Jake's. She not only envisioned the bicycles, but also a gallery showcasing their journey, the vibrant art pieces she would create inspired by the bicycle's journey from concept to completion. She felt a buoyancy take hold, the first droplets of empowerment washing away the fear. Yet, as they pored over ideas and budgets, an unsettling challenge hovered just out of reach. They were still beset by their fears. What if Jake's exuberance waned when faced with real challenges? Would her own dreams be molded or crushed under the weight of his ambitions? The evening set in quietly, with uncertainty casting long shadows around them as they wrapped up their plans. Relief mingled with apprehension, and Sarah felt a pulse of excitement alongside an ominous dread creeping in as they addressed creeping deadlines and financial realities. They still had much to prove, even to themselves. As Jake placed his hand on her shoulder, the warmth of the gesture stirred deeper questions about what success would mean for them both. Together they had chosen a path filled with potential, yet it lay littered with uncharted obstacles. Determination surged, but were they truly ready to face the daunting challenges ahead? The air felt electric, heavy with the weight of possibility. Sarah's heart raced at the thought of what might come next. The enormity of their decision loomed hard, and just as she opened her mouth to voice another thought, the phone rang, jolting them both from their contemplative bubble. Who could be calling at this hour? The tension simmering in the air thickened as she reached for it, unaware that the voice on the other end would thrust them into the next chapter of their intertwined destinies. As she answered the phone, Sarah's heart pounded against her chest, a mix of anticipation and dread surging through her. The voice on the other line was unfamiliar, yet urgent. "Is this Sarah?" I have something important to share about Jake's garage project. Who is this? She replied, tension lacing her tone. I can't disclose my name, but I think you need to hear this, the voice insisted, each word meticulously measured. I've seen his work, and it's more than what you both realize. He's about to make a breakthrough. Sarah's mind raced. Why would someone reach out to her about Jake? Instinctively, she glanced over at Jake, who was now at his workbench, oblivious to the growing storm brewing within her. Listen, I understand how it sounds, but I've been tracking bike designs in the local market. I've seen your husband's talent. His innovations are exceptional, and he's close, very close, to something that could change everything. Sarah felt the weight of the stranger's words press into her, mixing with the uncertainty hovering over her plans. Why are you telling me this? The voice softened slightly. Because I believe in what he's trying to achieve. You need to encourage him, Sarah. He has something that's not just about bikes. It's about community, restoration, a connection lost. It's profound. A swell of conflicting emotions coursed through her. Could this be true? Was Jake genuinely onto something groundbreaking? She felt a flicker of pride entwined with a sharp pang of self-doubt. Why hadn't she seen it before? She needed to shift her perspective, not only about Jake, but also about her role in this endeavor. I'll keep my eyes open, she managed to say, aware that she needed to shut the door on this conversation soon. Thank you. As she hung up, the world around her faded, and she stood rooted, grappling with the revelation. Jake, her hard-working husband, might actually be on the brink of something significant. What did that mean for her? The fusion of their dreams seemed more precarious, yet tantalizing. Who was that? Jake asked, suddenly perceptive, breaking through her reverie. A friend, she stammered, sidestepping the truth. His eyes searched hers for clarity, but she felt the secrets already spiraling. More than a friend, I hope. He teased lightly. But the levity faded when he saw her serious demeanor. What's wrong? She hesitated, weighing the implications of sharing the stranger's encouragement. I just think we need to dig deeper into the plans. This could be bigger than we imagined, she said, her tone firming as she envisioned Jake's ambitious dream intertwining with her neglected aspirations. His brow furrowed, curiosity clashing with apprehension. Bigger how? What if, along with the bicycles, we leverage an online platform? We could share your creative process, maybe even teach workshops. It could attract attention, funding, and help build a following. She felt a rush of excitement as the possibilities unfolded. Inspiration washed over her, igniting the zeal she hoped to nurture. But was she truly ready to engage in the spotlight alongside him? Would he welcome her contributions, or did he only want her support from the sidelines? Jake's expression shifted, the flicker of doubt slowly giving way to intrigue. You actually think that would work? Why not? We can't go into this half-heartedly anymore. As they went back to their plans, the air shimmered with new energy as they brainstormed and exchanged ideas. Each sketch and note dripped with the hope of transformation. But as their resolve strengthened, so did the shadows of uncertainty. Whether Jake could maintain the kind of passion and focus needed to see this through, or if he would eventually revert to his safe, familiar patterns. Her heart twisted as a fresh wave of contemplation washed over her. Just then, the phone buzzed again, a powerful reminder of the outside world's incessant pull. This time she deliberately did not reach for it, knowledge dawning that their journey was just beginning. And yet, the unseen forces growing outside their control threatened to change everything. In this moment, a single thought crystallized in her mind. Whatever awaited them next, they would have to confront it together. But how? As she exchanged a glance with Jake, the weight of their decisions loomed larger, solidifying her commitment. But the lurking question persisted. What secrets would emerge as they dared to step into the unknown? The phone continued to vibrate, relentless, echoing an urgency they could not ignore. The phone's relentless buzz seemed to reverberate through the walls of the garage, echoing Sarah's racing thoughts. It was now or never. She could feel the tug of fear urging her to retreat. Yet another part of her, a stronger, more emboldened part, was ready to plunge forward into the ambiguity awaiting them. "Jake," she said, her voice steady despite the tumult inside her. "I think we need to take these ideas seriously. This could be about more than just bikes. It could be a chance for both of us." The words themselves felt like a leap into uncharted waters. He looked up, confusion warring with enthusiasm. "You really believe that an online platform could transform everything?" "I do. And if you're on the verge of something great, I want to be part of it. Not just as your cheerleader, but as an active partner," she asserted, the conviction rising in her. Sarah could feel the flicker of possibility illuminating the corners of their stagnancy. But doubt was still etched on Jake's brow. "What if I'm not ready for that kind of exposure?" The pressure. Sarah felt the anxiety creeping back in, but she refused to let it dominate the moment. She had spent too long shielding herself from her own potential, and she would not let him do the same. "Consider the alternative. What if we let another opportunity slip by while we linger here, unsure of ourselves?" Jake's gaze dropped to the sketches scattered between them. Sarah's heart sank as she observed the familiar dance of self-doubt play on his features, a reflection of her own inner struggles. Did he see the greatness in himself that this stranger had glimpsed? "Remember our first date? You told me about DIY projects, and how you wanted to create something special, something that would mean something to people." A soft smile ghosted his lips. "I still want that. It just feels out of reach." She leaned forward, kindling that warmth of a shared dream between them. "Then let's make it within reach. Together." There it was again, that delicate interplay of hope and fear. Sarah felt a rush of responsibility settle upon her, each heartbeat amplifying the stakes. She would not allow fear to tether them to mediocrity. Her commitment surged within her like an electric current. Suddenly the phone buzzed again. A missed call. The urgency in the air ratcheted higher. Was it the same unknown caller? The voice that had ignited a spark of change in her? "This time, let's not ignore it," she said, driving the point home. Jake hesitated, glancing back towards his workbench. "What if it's bad news?" "Then we'll face it together." Without allowing herself a moment's pause, she reached for the phone. With shaking hands, she dialed back the number, each ring amplifying the gravity of her decision. Jake's eyes were glued to her, a mix of apprehension and intrigue. "Hello?" The clarity of the voice on the other end cut through the tension. "It's Sarah again. I'm returning your call. What do you want to tell us?" The voice paused momentarily, measuring its words carefully. "There's something you need to know about Jake's designs. It's not just about the bikes. They're revolutionary in ways you can't begin to fathom." A chill shot down her spine as the air around them thickened. It felt as if the walls of the garage perspired under pressure. The unmissable hint of urgency in the caller's tone sent tremors of anticipation down her spine. "What do you mean by revolutionary?" Sarah pressed, her resolve stealing as she smelled the scent of opportunity mingling with fear. Jake, now standing beside her, was as transfixed as she was. Then the caller spoke, and her world pivoted as fragments of clarity began to coalesce. Each word promised to unravel more than just their immediate plans. It hinted at deeper implications for Jake and her. The very foundation of who they were and what they could become hung on the edge of the revelation unfolding before them. But as the conversation progressed, the looming specter of potential failure loomed larger than ever. The path ahead held a truth they had scarcely prepared to confront, and Sarah could feel the restless energy crackling in the air, hinting at the storm that awaited them. What consequences would emerge from this unfolding truth about Jake's creations? Would they be strong enough to face it together? Or would they be swallowed by their own ambitions? The line crackled, a brief pause lingering in the air as the caller took a breath. Jake's designs could disrupt the entire market. It's more than just bikes. Think sustainable materials, cutting-edge technology, and a user experience that transforms how people interact with cycling. Sarah's heart raced, the vision unfolding before her like a vivid tapestry. She exchanged a glance with Jake, and she could see the same astonishment mirrored in his wide eyes. As the voice elaborated on features designed to enhance safety, efficiency, and personalization, the initial thrill soon twisted into a knot of anxiety. The stakes were unfurling in ways she hadn't anticipated. We need to prepare for scrutiny. Investors will want scalability, proof of concept, and rapid execution. This is not just about creativity. This is a business. The reality tugged at Sarah, confronting her with the daunting prospect of a world she had only glazed over before. What did she truly know about entrepreneurship? The instinct to retreat swirled within her like a storm, fueled by images of failure. But the other part, the part ignited by Jake's aspirations, insisted she stand firm. "Jake, are you ready for this?" she asked, feeling the weight of his future resting on the answer. He stood frozen, mind racing. I mean, how can it be so big? It was just ideas on paper." Just ideas? Those ideas could change everything. This isn't about just you anymore, Jake. This is a partnership, and it's now or never. The urgency edged into both their tones, electrifying the space. With each word, Sarah could sense her resolve crystallizing into something more formidable than she had ever projected. No one achieves greatness without risk, without stepping into the discomfort, she continued, revealing the challenge woven into her own evolution. She had skirted around challenges, letting fear dictate her professional choices for too long. Look at you. Look at us. We can create something meaningful here. A tentativeness still gripped Jake, uncertainty clouding his features. What if I can't handle the pressure if things don't go as planned? We can't let fear complicate our potential, Sarah urged, her voice unwavering. This moment, this call, it's a chance for growth, both personally and professionally. Don't you see? Their conversation became a mirror reflecting their vulnerabilities, but also their latent strengths. With every passing second, Sarah felt her own fears intermingling with a burgeoning sense of agency. She had always played it safe, but if she was to champion both herself and Jake, she would need to embrace vulnerability alongside ambition. Do it for yourself, she insisted, taking a step forward. Fight through the fear and embrace the possibility for greatness. For us. We build this together, but we both need to step up. Jake's expression shifted subtly. The fog of doubt began to dissipate. So what do we do next? The glimmer of hope emerging in his voice was nearly palpable. It was as if she could reach out and grasp it. Let's flesh out an outline, the essence of our idea that we can present. We need to think about branding, target audience, and strategy. This is more than just riding a bike. It's about revolutionizing how people live and experience the world on two wheels. As they began drafting ideas, the atmosphere charged with a resolute energy. Sarah's fingers twitched over the paper as she jotted down snippets of possibilities, freedom spilling onto the pads of their shared ambitions. This was a relentless tide of creation washing over the discord of their insecurities. However, as they meticulously outlined their vision, a creeping thought wormed its way into Sarah's mind. Was she prepared for the demands of this new path? The possibilities layered over them like tiles in a mosaic, each representing potential, but also the burden of execution. Could they really turn dreams into reality? Or were they just shackling themselves onto the weight of expectation? In the midst of her planning, a revelation hit Sarah. This experience was more than professional growth. It held the key to her personal evolution. She could no longer stand in the shadows of Jake's ambition. Their success would intertwine with her own. With her heart pounding, she felt the thrill of uncertain promise, mingled with an impending sense of what lay ahead. The next steps would demand everything from them, but the thrill of that challenge buzzed in her veins. She could feel it building, a tidal wave leading toward everything they both wanted. But lurking behind her newfound determination was anxiety, a subtle warning that relationships could fracture under the weight of ambition. Would their partnership endure the inevitable pressures of success? What hidden truths would emerge as they ventured into the crucible of transformation together? In this high-stakes game they were playing, uncertainty lingered just around the corner, waiting to test the very foundation of their commitment. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed in the background as the duo hunched over their notes, the air thick with the aroma of determination. Sarah's mind raced faster than her pen could move. Ideas blossomed while fears lurked like shadows at the edges of her thoughts. This was more than the formation of a business. It was a convergence of their lives, ambitions, and fragile identities. You know, we could really leverage social media. Jake piped up, tapping his fingers against the desk. The way he spoke now, infused with burgeoning confidence, was a stark contrast to the hesitant man from just an hour ago. We could create a buzz, share our prototypes, and get people excited before they even see the product. Exactly, Sarah replied, her eyes lighting up. Their synergy felt electric. This was the kind of dialogue they had always envisioned, a brainstorming session charged with possibility. She could hear the cadence of opportunity in Jake's voice, and it propelled her further into the moment. Building a community around our product is crucial. We need to tell a story, a lifestyle that resonates with our audience, not just sell them a bike. A flicker of anxiety gripped Sarah again. Could she project this vision with clarity when the time came to pitch? It was one thing to ideate in the safety of this small office nook, but another to articulate it to potential investors, especially seasoned entrepreneurs who thrived on metrics and market validation. Doubts washed over her, tainting the well of inspiration they were drawing from. But she pushed them aside, focusing instead on the growing determination in Jake's words. "What's our unique selling proposition?" she asked, her voice steadying. "Why should anyone care about our brand?" Jake paused, his brows furrowing. Beneath that spontaneity lay a layer of introspection. Sustainability, perhaps. He leaned back, searching for the right phrasing. "We're not just creating bicycles. We're offering an eco-friendly alternative that promotes healthier living." "Good, but let's dig deeper," she urged, drawing on the energy between them. "What if we collaborate with local artisans, include community input in our designs? The bikes can express a local culture while committing to an environmentally responsible ethos. We need to anchor ourselves within the communities we're serving. That's how we build loyalty." An exhilarating contrast emerged, vulnerability flirting with newfound boldness. Behind the initial bravado, doubts hovered, but Sarah recognized them now as much a part of the process as the initial excitement. This fusion of fear and ambition became a dance. Each influenced the other. The more they envisioned a successful brand, the more her confidence crystallized. "Right! I never thought about involving the community that way," Jake exclaimed, bouncing slightly on his chair. His eyes gleamed with enthusiasm. "And we can host workshops, get people involved in the creation process. Imagine that. People could bring their vision to life." As they mapped out ideas, A dual recognition swelled within Sarah. She was not merely a supporting figure anymore. She was a catalyst for change. But what would that mean for her relationship with Jake? They were navigating uncharted waters, displaying newfound strengths. The potential strain of their endeavor loomed heavily overhead, and in a moment of clarity, she wondered if those unexamined shadows from earlier would re-emerge under increased pressure. She drew a breath, forcing herself to confront the reality looming just outside their creative cocoon. Jake, we need to talk about expectations. We both need to be clear about what this partnership means daily. Ambition can be a double-edged sword. Jake nodded, his expression shifting to one of seriousness. I get it. We have to be on the same page, as equals. But what if I fail to keep pace with your ideas? And what if I fall short in delivering my part? Sarah replied, an uneasy chuckle escaping her lips. Yet beneath the humor resonated a palpable tension. Would the bond they forged in this creative maelstrom withstand the weight of reality? Each step forward brought excitement, but it also unveiled the fragility of their connection, laying bare fears they had yet to confront. Silence enveloped them, leaving only their thoughts in stark relief against the clamor of external possibility. It became increasingly clear that their journey was more than building a brand. It was a test of the very fabric of their partnership. The flicker of doubt turned into an ember of clarity. They needed to articulate their shared vision, then confront the underlying fears tethered to their roles. As they prepared for what lay ahead, the stakes rose exponentially. Would they weather the storm together? Or would the very ambitions fueling their desire fracture the bond that held them together? Feeling the weight of this new awareness settle in her chest, Sarah initiated the pen to paper once again. Their future rested not just on the foundation they were assembling outside, but on how they navigated these intricate, internal relationships as well. Suddenly the phone buzzed on the desk. The display revealed an incoming call with a number they both recognized. The uncertainty rippled through Sarah again, entwining fear with anticipation. Who would be on the other line? Was it a chance to elevate their idea? Or a revealing moment that flipped everything upside down? The buzzing continued, a rhythmic reminder of the moment hanging in the air. Sarah's heart raced as she exchanged glances with Jake, both of them acutely aware that an unknown weight loomed behind that call. It felt as if the very fabric of their nascent partnership was set to unravel or rise triumphantly, and either outcome demanded clarity they had yet to articulate. Jake reached for the phone, the tension pulling his hand slightly. "Should I answer?" he asked, and his voice carried both apprehension and resolve. "Do it," Sarah urged, her voice steadying. "We need to confront whatever this is." Taking a deep breath, Jake tapped the screen, allowing anonymity to transform into a voice that echoed into their cluttered workspace. "Hello?" The muffled reply immediately sent a ripple of unease traveling down Sarah's spine. It was a familiar voice, one imbued with authority. Mr. Porter, their former professor and a local venture capital expert, was on the line. Sarah quickly shifted her perspective, redirecting her anxiety into a mental alertness as she leaned closer, straining to catch the conversation. Jake's expression shifted as he listened intently, and Sarah could see the glimmers of potential promise flashing across his face. Yet, as Jake nodded along, a sense of foreboding settled in the pit of her stomach. Would Mr. Porter offer encouragement coupled with critique, or would he unravel their dreams with a single unkind word? "I've seen your prototypes, and I must say, I'm impressed," Mr. Porter was saying. "But let's talk numbers. You know this market is highly competitive, and without a solid growth strategy, you'll just blend into the crowd. And you both need to be ready for the pitch. Are you?" Sarah felt her pulse quicken as Jake's brow furrowed slightly, revealing cracks in the veneer of confidence they had been building. The absence of a well-defined plan could very well tip the balance against them. "We're getting there," Jake replied, forcing steadiness into his voice. "We're exploring community engagement and sustainability as core pillars." But his words hung in the air. A challenge loomed. Would they articulate their ambitions fiercely enough before the market swallowed them whole? After the call ended, a heavy silence enveloped the room. The weight of expectation bore down upon them. Jake sat back, rubbing his temples, and Sarah could see the strain etching deeper lines across his commonly animated face. "He wants specific projections and to see collaboration success before we even get a second meeting," he said, his voice tight as if wrestling with unvoiced fears. "I knew this was coming," Sarah responded, pushing the discomfort aside. "We have a good idea, but we need to create a robust business model. We have to get ahead of the game. We can't let our lack of data push us back." "I can feel the pressure building, though," Jake murmured, his voice distant. "What if we fail to deliver? What if the investors decide we're not ready?" The very thought had been her own fear, but admitting it aloud lodged an ice-cold finger of worry within her belly. "But what if we succeed? This is our chance to stand out," she countered, channeling venom into her conviction. "The only way we can do that is to embrace the risk and not shy away from it." Jake looked her in the eyes, and she witnessed the flicker of insecurity circling his initial resolve. They were experiencing newfound truths about ambition and fear, a growing complexity tied into their relationship and partnership. What nagged at her was more than just the need to impress Mr. Porter. It was the realization that her insecurities could very well translate into a straining force against their budding connection. "We can't let this get in the way of our vision, Sarah. Our partnership is what makes us strong," Jake finally said. But the words rang an uneasy note, as though he was trying to convince himself as much as her. "Then we need to prepare," she replied, a sense of urgency igniting her focus. "We must map out our next steps and put our vision into actionable plans. Join forces with local artisans, define our marketing strategies, and analyze the competition. We can't afford to hesitate any longer." The fire in her words rekindled Jake's spark. He straightened, the energy visibly shifting as they both leaned in closer to the table, their voices hushed, yet charged with intent. A shared understanding unfurled between them. They were stronger as a unit, and yet the shadows of doubt still flickered at the edges of their ambition. As they each scribbled notes and ideas onto the paper, Sarah contemplated the balance of their professional identities. Were they equipped to handle the pressure they sensed from all directions? The uncertainty loomed, and within it existed the potential for transformative growth. The clock ticked unexpectedly louder as evening descended, pushing them into a quiet crunch of time. Then, without warning, Jake's phone dinged again. A message alert that slid open on the screen like a jarring reality check. "Can we meet tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Need to discuss options." In that moment, Sarah's breath caught. They faced their first real confrontation, and the weight of unanswered questions spilled over like an avalanche. How many more surprises would test their commitment to this journey before the pitch? As they dove into strategizing, Sarah felt the uncertainties reshape into a fire inside her, a pulse of determination to navigate ahead. But a lingering question ate at her thoughts. Were they truly ready to confront the challenges that loomed just beyond their grasp? The sun poured light through the window, illuminating scattered notes and half-empty coffee cups strewn across the table. Jake's phone buzzed violently, jerking Sarah from her restless sleep. It was nearly dawn, and a knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. She had spent the night wrestling with visions of impending failure, gnawing at her confidence. Jake, still half asleep, groaned and rolled over. "What time is it?" He slurred, his eyes heavy with remnants of dreams. "Early," Sarah replied, barely above a whisper. "We have that meeting in a few hours." His face flickered to life at her words, tension instantly settling over him. Right, the pitch. They both understood the stakes. It felt heavier than ever now, like an unrelenting drumbeat pounding in 12 beats a minute. Each step toward the meeting seemed a looming cliff, waiting for them to trip and tumble down into failure. Rubbing her temples, Sarah tried to organize her thoughts. We're prepared. We've researched the market, gathered our data, spoken with potential partners. We just have to communicate our vision clearly. But what if it's not enough? Jake's voice crackled with doubt. What if our ideas are just distracted blips on their radar? Those words hung heavily in the air, a stark reminder of their fragility. Sarah inhaled deeply, determination seeping into her bones. We can't let fear dictate our choices. Remember why we started this? It's about creating something unique, something we believe in. Jake sat up, brushing his hair back with urgency. You're right, but how do we make them see it? Our passion needs to translate into something palpable. As they prepared, Sarah's brain churned with apprehensive ideas. They needed to turn this meeting into a narrative, one where their vision wasn't merely explained but felt. They were not just two fledgling entrepreneurs. They represented a fresh approach, an opportunity to spark innovation. Hours passed in the fraught anticipation of the meeting. Sarah's mind often wandered to what was at stake. She could feel the pull and push of their partnership transforming her in subtle ways. Days spent working alongside Jake had revealed layers of her capabilities she never acknowledged. The gift of persuasion, the ability to visualize a future even when uncertainty loomed. Let's run through our presentation one more time, Jake suggested as they entered the conference room, his voice firm despite the apprehension visible in his eyes. Good idea. She took a moment to review the strategies they had outlined, feeling the pulse of excitement course through her. With each slide they discussed, she saw glimpses of her evolving self. The young woman who once hesitated to voice her opinions now articulated ideas with force. As Jake summarized their research, she honed in, adding depth and passion, converting facts into a compelling story that would engage their audience. When Mr. Porter entered, the air crackled more intensely. He had a reputation for incisiveness, and Sarah knew it was crucial to impress him without showing fear. Every fiber in her being screamed for caution, yet beneath that was a surging well of belief. A belief in their potential and the journey itself. Good morning. Thank you for meeting with us. She began as a collective, expectant gaze locked onto her, and she felt the weight of it ignite her fighting spirit. As the presentation unfolded, she noticed Jake's confidence blossoming beside her, their shared vision anchoring them against the uncertainty. Every question thrown at them now felt like a challenge to elevate their message. They answered earnestly, prompting a dialogue rather than a critique from Porter. Yet, as the meeting closed, Sarah sensed something deeper was at play. Mr. Porter had engaged with their content, but there was a flicker of intrigue hidden beneath his careful responses. It was almost as if he was testing not just their idea, but their commitment to each other and their dreams. After the meeting, as they were packing up, Sarah turned to Jake. That felt different. Like there's something more. More? His brow furrowed in curiosity. I don't know yet. Just a feeling, she said. But something within her had shifted. Was it just the adrenaline of the encounter, or had they sparked a fire that would demand more of them? As they stepped out of the building together, the world outside seemed to hum with possibility. Driven by this confrontation, it dawned on her that discovery often lay not in the idea itself, but in the courage to explore the depths of their ambitions and the hidden facets of their partnership. As they walked back to their workspace, a new message chimed on Jake's phone, drawing their attention. I have some thoughts to discuss with you regarding the meeting earlier. It read, signed off by Mr. Porter. A mixture of anticipation and anxiety surged in Sarah as they exchanged glances. What revelations awaited them? And would it push them further into their transformation? Together or apart? The day stretched thin between them, a bridge of uncertainty and raw energy. Sarah felt buoyed by the lingering tension of the meeting, but doubt threatened to encroach. They were stepping toward uncharted territory, and every piece of correspondence from Mr. Porter felt like a riddle to decode. As they settled into their workspace, Jake's phone calmly illuminated a simple message. "Let's meet tomorrow to discuss further." Tomorrow, eh? That could mean anything. Does it feel positive to you? Jake asked, lacing his fingers nervously. Sarah could see the calculation in his eyes, the kind of scrutiny that spilled over the edges of optimism. It could be an opportunity, or another challenge. We just have to be prepared for either, Sarah replied, wishing she could believe more fervently in the hope she sketched out. The air simmered with expectation, but that familiar knotted tension began to unravel, exposing her vulnerability. Hadn't she fought to step beyond those limitations? As the hours dwindled, Sarah tucked into a focused work mode, poring over their pitch while Jake considered elements for what came next. Yet, in every line of text, she sensed a mounting desire to transform her vision. Not just for the pitch, but her personal aspirations as well. Maybe we should sketch out where we want to take this, beyond just the meeting. We could refine our messaging, discover what else we can present about ourselves. Sarah's voice picked up a fervor as she spoke, a hint of defiance dancing in her tone. Jake raised an eyebrow, intrigued. You think that could make a difference? What do you mean by discovering what else? The question struck Sarah like a suddenly unlocked door. I mean, why not share more about us? Our story, what brought us here and why we're passionate about this project. Mr. Porter doesn't just invest in ideas. He invests in people, doesn't he? The thought settled over her like the first warm spring breeze. Yes. This could be transformative. That night, with the weight of aspirations coursing through her veins, Sarah pulled out a fresh journal, the ink flowing like a river of urgency across the pages. She didn't want to sketch out a pitch alone. She wanted to map out where she saw herself, evolving with every challenge, pushing through every barrier. She poured in her fears, disappointment, rejection, but also hope. She visualized how they could present not just their product, but the resilience and creativity that fueled this journey. Days blurred into late-night work sessions with Jake that felt wrapped in an electric energy. She pressed Jake for insights about his own personal journey, his trials, tribulations, and the raw march of decisions leading him here. It was a powerful way to weave both their paths into the story of their venture. On the eve of their meeting with Porter, Jake's decision to include a personal narrative tugged on her heartstrings. Would he reveal his fears, his ambition? When they presented their tapestry of dreams, would it coalesce into something bigger than themselves? Anticipation melded into performance anxiety. As she breathed deeply, the flickering light of her hotel lamp cast shadows of doubt, while hope brushed against her skin like an awakened spirit. In the still of the night, she heard Jake pacing quietly in the other room, mumbled phrases tumbling through the thin walls, a rehearsed reflection of her own scattered thoughts. Could this partnership bear the weight of personal truths? Did they belong in this arena completely? As dawn approached, a new message startled her thoughts into a frenzied spiral. Let's be open in our meeting tomorrow. Be ready to explore. Sarah's pulse quickened. Could they afford to explore uncharted territory? What would be revealed? In that moment, she recognized that this meeting was about unveiling pieces of themselves, not just their ideas. The next step drew near, a cliff diver faced with both fear and the thrill of soaring towards unknown depths. Would they emerge whole, or would they grapple with the parts of themselves that had yet to surface? As she readied for the day, Sarah understood that this path was more than a pitch. It was a revelation. And with that thought, an unsettling realization began to creep in. Had she unearthed something more in Jake that she hadn't yet grasped? Something that could reshape their partnership entirely? As sunlight spilled through their bedroom window, illuminating the faces of possibility that lay ahead, Sarah felt a renewed surge of hope. The anticipation of their meeting with Mr. Porter infused her with a deep sense of purpose. This was not just a pitch. It was their moment to stand as partners committed to a shared dream. It was time to unveil their story, the narrative of two individuals coming together to transcend their fears and chase their aspirations. In the cozy confines of their workspace, Sarah watched Jake pace back and forth, his expressions oscillating between resolve and anxiety. She felt the weight of his apprehensions mirror her own. But then, as he caught her eye, a silent understanding passed between them. They were in this together, two halves of a whole, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. "Let's focus on what drives us," Sarah said, cutting through the tension with a voice firm, yet inviting. "We both believe in this venture, not only as a business, but as a reflection of who we are." Jake nodded slowly, gathering his thoughts. "You're right. It's essential for us to communicate our why. We need Mr. Porter to see that passion behind the project." As they refined their presentation, they began to weave their personal journeys into the tapestry of the business narrative. Jake spoke candidly about his late father's influence, the man who had dreamt of building something that could endure, something that connected with people on a deeper level. Tears shimmered in his eyes, and Sarah felt the lump in her throat. This was the vulnerability they had both hesitated to express. "Your dad would be proud of you," she murmured, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "And I believe he would have loved to see us building something meaningful together." Jake's face lit up at her words, and with that simple affirmation, they stepped onto the same wavelength. The skepticism and fear that once held them back began to dissolve as they channeled their energies toward creating a compelling narrative. Each detail of their journey, each struggle and triumph, became part of the larger vision, the heart of their brand. The hours flew by, both thrilling and crucial, as they rehearsed their story, blending passion and professionalism harmoniously. Sarah felt invigorated, her confidence swelling with each practice run. She was no longer just a painter tending to her dreams in silence. She was a force, a partner unafraid to stand tall alongside Jake, ready to demonstrate her capabilities to the world. The meeting approached, and just as their nerves began to fray, the realization dawned on Sarah. They had transformed. What had once seemed like a precarious leap into the unknown now felt like a monumental step forward in their shared destiny. They were not merely pitching a business. They were sharing a vision born from their struggles, dreams, and aspirations. As they entered Mr. Porter's office, Sarah felt a wave of calm wash over her. The weight of expectation had shifted from something daunting to a canvas of opportunity. They stood together, hands clasped, their united front emblematic of their hard-earned resilience. "Good morning. We really appreciate you meeting with us." Jake started, his voice steady as he offered an inviting smile. Sarah added, "Today, we want to share our journey, not just the bicycles, but the passion and purpose behind them." With each word, she felt a piece of herself fall into place. As they spoke, she delivered their narrative with conviction, explaining how their project tied into sustainability, community, and the vision of rekindling connections lost in a fast-paced world. The room felt charged, filled not just with their dreams, but with the palpable energy of their partnership. Mr. Porter leaned in, visibly intrigued. "You both have a compelling vision. But how do you plan to scale this while maintaining that personal touch?" And it was in that moment of probing inquiry that Sarah realized the immense growth they had achieved. Not just as individuals, but as co-creators of something bigger. They had turned pitfalls into stepping stones, refining their vision through the fire of collaboration. With confidence surging through her, Sarah leaned forward. Our goal is to build a community, not just around bicycles, but around shared experiences. We want to invite people in, allowing them to contribute their stories and ideas. We are prepared to explore innovative partnerships with local artisans to ensure that every bike becomes a vessel of personal expression. As their discussion deepened, Sarah could see Jake embracing the conversation, his earlier insecurities melting away. Together they painted a picture that was rich and textured, illustrating their vision's potential impact. Mr. Porter nodded thoughtfully, his expression shifting with genuine interest. When the pitch concluded, the atmosphere felt electric. "I appreciate your dedication," Mr. Porter said with palpable intrigue, shifting gears. "There's potential here. Let's schedule a follow-up to delve deeper into your business model and growth strategies." As they left Mr. Porter's office, exhilaration bubbled between them. "That went better than I imagined," Jake exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with promise. Sarah felt the floodgates of confidence burst open. "We did that, together." Jake smiled broadly, a warm expression that radiated relief. "I couldn't have done it without you." A sense of achievement enveloped Sarah, a solid confidence born from confronting their fears, unearthing their passions, and embracing the power of partnership. No longer confined by self-doubt, she saw the next phase stretching before them like an open road, replete with opportunities for growth. In the following weeks, they worked diligently, fortified by their newfound conviction. Their vision took shape, and with every milestone, both Sarah and Jake blossomed into their roles, integrating their passions seamlessly within their partnership. Collaborations flourished, and their story resonated within the community they had long desired to impact. It was a journey of transformation, the rebirth of dreams long forsaken, and an inspiring narrative sculpted from the ashes of uncertainty. Sarah stood in front of their first prototype, a stunning blend of art and engineering, ready to launch into the market. She glanced at Jake, who was immersed in joy and inspiration. They had achieved the unthinkable together, culminating not only in a business but a celebration of individual growth. Now it was time to share their story with the world. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure you stay engaged with transformative journeys. Comment your reactions and theories about this inspiring ending, and let's spark a conversation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share the journey of overcoming dreams and aspirations.